My child, listen closely, because what I am about to reveal will disturb you, confuse you, and at the same time open a truth that has been hiding in the shadows far longer than you realize. Imagine this clearly in your mind, a silent street before sunrise, the kind where the air itself feels like it is holding its breath. Suddenly the quiet splits open as flashing lights slice through the darkness, and police vehicles pull in one after another. Doors fly open, boots hit the ground, voices echo through the stillness. Officers move quickly, marking the area, pushing back anyone nearby. Something serious has happened, something terrible, something none of them were prepared to face. Inside that circle of yellow tape lies a body. Not breathing, not moving, not alive. Officers gather around but speak in low whispers, their faces tight with concern. The scene offers almost nothing. A floor smeared with dust, a window barely open, furniture untouched. There is no sign of anger, no evidence of a fight, no trace of panic or resistance. Everything looks calm except for the lifeless body lying in the center of the room. It is as if whoever did this came and left without disturbing the smallest particle of air. For a moment, the investigators exchange worried glances. They know cases like this do not appear out of nowhere. Someone had to enter, someone had to leave, someone had to plan this. And yet the room feels untouched, like no human hand had ever stepped inside. They kneel down, scan the body, then spread out like a quiet wave searching for clues. One checks the windows, another scans the floor, another inspects the doorknob. But each one comes up shaking their head. Nothing. Nothing. Nothing at all. Minutes slowly stretch into what feels like hours as frustration builds in their eyes. The officers expected to find something small, at least a fiber, a mark, a disrupted object, anything. But it's as if the murderer walked through solid matter and vanished into thin air. Hope starts slipping away, and a few officers step back, rubbing their forehead, unsure what path to take next. Then suddenly a voice rises from the corner, shaky, uncertain, almost unbelieving. "Sir. I think I found something." Everyone freezes. Heads snap toward the sound. Even the air seems to pause. The forensic specialist lifts her hand with a small evidence card. On it rests a single fingerprint. One. Just one. No more, no less. The only mark in the entire room that does not belong to the victim. Officers rush toward her, their hearts beating faster now. Finally, a lead. Finally, a direction. Finally, a sign of life, ironically found in the trace of someone responsible for taking another's. The specialist hands the card over, and slowly, carefully, the print is protected, preserved, and prepared to be scanned. Everyone gathers around the machine as if they are standing at the doorway of truth. But my child, what they were expecting to see on that screen and what they actually saw are two completely different realities. The scanner hums. Lights flicker. The image of the print sharpens, locking into the system. Officers lean in, some with their arms crossed, others gripping their belts. They wait for the usual process, matching percentages, scrolling names, archived lists. But this time, something strange happens. The computer stops faster than expected. The match is immediate. Instant. Almost too quick. A profile appears. A face. A name. And right beside it, in heavy red letters, a word that freezes every officer in place: deceased. The room sinks into a cold silence. One officer whispers, "That can't be right," another says, "Run it again." They rescan. Same result. Another officer tries a different system. Same result. The man whose fingerprint is on that body died years ago. His file is sealed. His death certificate confirmed. The records are solid and undeniable. He was gone. Buried. Mourned. Declared no longer a threat. But my child, the fingerprint sitting inside that room is fresh. New. Clear. Impossible. Some officers step back, rubbing their eyes. Others look at each other, hoping someone has an explanation. But none of them do. How could a dead man leave a fingerprint on a brand new crime scene? How could someone return from beyond the very boundary that separates life from death? The logical mind collapses in confusion because the truth staring back at them refuses to fit inside the world they understand. The chief investigator breaks the silence. His voice is low, steady, heavy. Everyone stays calm. No assumptions. No panic. We are dealing with something highly unusual. He tries to hide the tremble in his voice, but the others hear it anyway. Because deep down each of them is thinking the same thing: either the dead man is not dead, or someone is pretending to be him. And my child, the truth is even more disturbing than those two possibilities. Years ago, your area went through a time of fear that crept through streets, whispered through neighborhoods, and stole peace from every home. People disappeared without explanation. Bodies were found with marks no one could understand. A cruel mind operated in the dark, leaving behind terror like breadcrumbs. Those who lived through that time still remember the nightmares. The newspapers called him many names, but one name stuck, the name that made parents lock their doors earlier than usual, the name that made people travel in groups, the name that became a shadow no one wanted to mention. A serial predator. A man with no mercy. A hunter who enjoyed the silence more than the screams. A monster in human skin. And then, suddenly, the terror stopped. Just like that. One final case, then nothing. The city breathed again. The community slept again. The world returned to normal. Because the officials announced that the monster had died. They showed the files, confirmed the body, closed the case. People sighed with relief, believing evil had finally been buried for good. But my child, evil rarely lets itself be buried. Not fully. Not completely. This fingerprint, this single, tiny, almost invisible mark, opens a gate they never wanted to open again. Because it belongs to that same man. That same terror. That same nightmare everyone thought was locked away in a coffin. Officers stare at the screen, their faces pale. The young ones who only read about him in old files feel chills. The experienced ones who lived through his reign feel their stomach twist. They know what this means. They know exactly how dangerous this could be. They know that if his fingerprint is here, then the darkness they once escaped has returned. But my child, what they don't know is something even more shocking. The man did not simply fake his death to escape the law. He didn't just vanish and wait. He didn't just run from justice. No, he constructed a life underground, building shadows around himself like armor. He stayed quiet for years, watching people forget him, studying the world from a distance, choosing his moment like someone choosing a weapon. His silence wasn't fear. It was preparation. He waited until everyone believed he was gone. He waited until the world convinced itself he was no longer a threat. That's when men like him become the most dangerous, when everyone stops looking. Now he has returned, not by accident, not by mistake, but by intention. The fingerprint wasn't a slip. It wasn't negligence. It was a message. A signature. A warning. His way of saying, I'm back. But my child, listen carefully to what I say next, because this is where the divine truth enters a human story. This man will not get away again. He will not roam the streets unseen. He will not steal another life. He will not hide in shadows forever. His steps are being watched from above, his actions monitored, his mind exposed. Before he raises another hand, before he plans another act, before he touches another soul, he will be stopped. Your protector has already moved into action. The unseen forces working on your behalf have surrounded the path he thinks he is walking freely upon. He does not realize he is being tracked, not by earthly systems, but by heavenly ones. And you, my child, must not be afraid. Because the danger that once threatened your area cannot harm you this time. The terror that once walked unchallenged is being hunted by a far greater power. Justice has already begun closing in on him, like a tightening circle he cannot escape from. Now my child, let me speak to your heart directly. You have been seeking blessings, asking for breakthroughs, praying for open doors, yet holding back parts of yourself from me. You want the light without walking away from the shadows. You want my protection while clinging to habits that harm you. You want miracles while resisting the steps that lead toward transformation. I am not scolding you, I am guiding you. Because I see what you cannot see. I see the danger in the small compromises. I see the pain in the wounds you pretend don't hurt. I see the weight you carry while telling everyone you're fine. And even now, while the world around you swirls with mystery and fear, I am asking you to give me your full heart. Not half. Not some. Not pieces. All. Every burden. Every worry. Every broken hope. Every silent cry. Place them in my hands. Stop fighting battles you were never meant to fight alone. Stop carrying weights that are crushing your spirit. Stop trying to fix everything using human strength while ignoring divine support. My child, I am with you. Even in chaos. Even in confusion. Even in seasons when everything seems to collapse at once. You feel pressure from many sides. Financial struggles, emotional pain, unexpected problems, relationships that drain you, responsibilities that overwhelm you. You think you're breaking, but in truth, you're being strengthened in the deepest places of your soul. You want the storm around you to stop, but I am calming the storm inside you first. One day you will realize that the peace I am placing within you is stronger than the noise outside you. And when that peace settles in your spirit, nothing will shake you again. You are not alone, my child. Not for a moment. Not in the darkest room, not in the loudest chaos, not in the quietest pain. I walk beside you, step by step, breath by breath, moment by moment. You and I, we move together. And together, we will win. My child, let your heart stay steady as I take you deeper into this unfolding truth, because the events that happened after that fingerprint appeared were not just unexpected, they were almost unreal. Once the officers realized whose print it belonged to, the atmosphere in that room changed completely. The confident steps turned careful. The sharp voices lowered into nervous whispers. It no longer felt like they were dealing with a normal case. It felt like they had opened the door to something that should have remained sealed forever. The chief investigator ordered everyone to secure the scene again. More tape, more officers, more caution. You would think they were protecting a treasure, but what they were really guarding was fear, fear of what might come next. Every movement became calculated. Every decision became delicate. No one wanted to disturb anything that could hold another clue, because they knew the man responsible was not someone ordinary. He was someone who once turned the entire community into a warning. His name was enough to freeze conversations, enough to change the way people walked home at night, enough to make parents stay awake until dawn. Now, after years of silence, he had resurfaced through a fingerprint. A tiny swirl of lines carrying the weight of old nightmares. But my child, the officers didn't yet understand what you are about to understand. They thought they were dealing with the return of a dangerous man, but they were dealing with something deeper. Something planned, something calculated, something driven by a purpose they couldn't see. As they searched the house again, hoping to find anything they had missed earlier, one of the younger officers noticed something strange on the wall, not a mark, not a stain, but a slight dent, as if someone had touched the surface with a gloved hand. He moved closer, shining his flashlight across the wall, and noticed a faint outline of pressure. It wasn't a fingerprint, but it was a sign that someone had stood there longer than necessary, watching the victim on the ground even after the life had left their body. The officer felt chills rise on his skin. Whoever did this had not only killed, they had stayed long enough to observe their own work. That meant no panic, no rush, no fear of getting caught. It meant control. Confidence. Boldness. The very qualities the monster once had. He called the chief over, but before the senior officers could inspect, another sound interrupted the moment, the sudden crackle of the police radio. A voice spoke, urgent and tense. "We need backup at the station. The case file of the deceased subject, it's been tampered with." Every officer in the room turned their head at once. Their faces shifted from concern to alarm. The old case file, the one documenting the killer's death, had been untouched for years. It was locked, sealed, and filed away deep in the archives. No one had reason to open it. No one had any interest in revisiting the horrors of that time. But someone had broken into it. And not just to look. To remove something. 2 pages were missing. 2 pages documenting the final days before the killer supposedly died. Those pages held details about where he had been, who had last seen him, and how they confirmed his death. And now they were gone. Cleanly removed, leaving behind no fingerprints, no marks, no trail. This was no coincidence. This was no mistake. This was no random intrusion. It was connected. And the officers knew immediately, the man who should have been dead was not only alive, he was close. He was moving. He was preparing. And he was rewriting his own history. The chief's voice broke through the tension. "Everyone stay alert. He's not hiding anymore. He's watching us." The thought alone was terrifying, but it didn't stop there. Moments later, the forensic analyst examining the fingerprint noticed something even more alarming. The print was too clean. Too perfect. As if placed intentionally. As if left on purpose. As if the killer wanted them to find it. My child, do you understand the level of boldness that takes? A man hides for years, escapes the eyes of the world, erases his presence, then returns, not silently, but boldly, leaving behind a perfect signature as if saying, "Come find me." This was no ordinary criminal. This was someone who believed he couldn't be caught. But listen, my child. He is wrong. Because this time, a power greater than any law enforcement, greater than any earthly system, greater than the darkness he hides in, has already marked him for judgment. He will not succeed. He will not disappear again. He will not roam the world like a shadow without consequence. His time is running out, even if he cannot feel the clock ticking. Now my child, let me show you something happening behind the scenes. Something the officers cannot see, something the killer does not know, something you need to hear. In the spiritual realm, the killer is not moving freely. Every step he takes is being watched. Every plan he forms is being disrupted. Every hidden corner he tries to hide in is being illuminated. You may not see it with your eyes, but there are forces working right now, angels positioned around the city, around the streets, around the paths he thinks are safe. They are not guarding him. They are closing in on him. This is not about a human chase. This is about divine justice. But my child, while this pursuit is unfolding around you, I must speak to your heart again. Because your spirit has been carrying weight you do not talk about. You hide your exhaustion behind a quiet smile. You push through your days pretending you're fine when your soul is whispering, I am tired. I am overwhelmed. I am breaking. You've been living with questions no one answers. You've been carrying pain no one notices. You've been fighting battles no one sees. And somewhere inside, you feel like you're running out of strength. Let me tell you something with love, I see you. I see the nights you stay awake thinking too much. I see the moments you feel alone even when surrounded by people. I see the times you give your best but still feel empty. I see every tear you didn't let fall. I see the silent pressure sitting on your heart. And I am not blind to your struggle. You've been facing storms from multiple directions: financial stress, emotional burden, relationship pain, spiritual confusion, unexpected disappointments. You fix one thing, and another thing breaks. You solve one problem, and two more appear. You feel like life keeps testing you without giving you time to breathe. But hear me, my child, I am not letting these storms crush you. I am strengthening you in ways you cannot yet understand. You want me to stop the chaos around you, but sometimes I allow the storm to continue so that I can make you unshakable within it. You do not see the progress you're making, but I do. Every time you chose kindness when you felt hurt, your spirit grew. Every time you forgave even when you didn't receive an apology, your heart expanded. Every time you kept going despite the weight on your shoulders, your faith deepened. Every time you prayed while crying, your soul was being purified. You think you are weak, but you are becoming stronger than you've ever been. You think you are breaking, but you are actually transforming. You think you are abandoned, but you are being carried. My child, I have not forgotten a single prayer you whispered. I have not ignored a single tear you shed. I have not dismissed a single desire of your heart. Everything you have walked through, every experience, every burden, every disappointment. It has all been building you into someone who can stand in storms that would destroy others. You are not behind in life. You are not lost. You are not failing. You are being prepared. Prepared for blessings that require strength. Prepared for opportunities that require maturity. Prepared for breakthroughs that require faith. Do not think the delay means denial. Do not think silence means absence. I am working in the unseen, arranging things you cannot yet recognize. Just as justice is coming for the man who thought he escaped consequence, blessings are coming for you, blessings that thought they were delayed, blessings that were waiting for the moment your heart became strong enough to hold them. Stay with me. Walk with me. Trust me, even when it feels dark. Because you and I, we are moving together, step by step, toward the future I have already written for you. And nothing can stop what I have prepared. My child, as the officers attempted to regain control over the situation that had spiraled far beyond anything they expected, a new layer of tension began to settle in the air, heavy, suffocating, almost alive. It was the kind of tension that crawls under the skin, the kind that whispers warnings without using a single word. They all felt it, though none dared to say it out loud. The killer was not just ahead of them, he was close. Too close. The chief investigator ordered a deeper sweep of the surrounding area. Officers spread out like a silent wave, scanning every inch of the neighborhood. Dogs were brought in, drones were deployed, cameras checked, neighbors questioned. Yet nothing pointed to where the man had gone. There were no footprints in the soil, no tire marks on the road, no calls from residents who saw something unusual. It was as if the killer walked through an invisible door and vanished from the world. But my child, darkness never moves without leaving a scent behind, not a physical scent, but a spiritual one. And that is what the investigators were unknowingly stepping into. Hours passed as search teams combed through the area. The sun began rising, casting a dull orange glow over the street, but instead of bringing relief, the light only exposed the uneasiness everyone felt. The crime scene that had once been silent now seemed restless, like the walls themselves were remembering something. Inside the room, the forensic specialist who discovered the fingerprint sat quietly, staring at it through magnified glass. She kept telling herself it didn't make sense. A dead man cannot leave evidence. A sealed case cannot reopen itself. A buried monster cannot rise again. And yet the print was there. Clear. Sharp. Fresh. Suddenly, the lights in the room flickered. Just for a second. Just long enough for the specialist to gasp. For a moment she thought someone had walked behind her, someone standing too close, someone breathing near her ear. She spun around, but no one was there. The room was empty. Silent. Still. She rubbed her arms, feeling a coldness that didn't match the temperature. Something wasn't right. Something felt, watched. Meanwhile, at the police station, the officers investigating the missing pages in the old case file made another disturbing discovery. Not only were the final 2 pages missing. Someone had accessed the file exactly 3 days ago. A person who used no official ID, left no trace in the digital system, and somehow bypassed every security measure. 3 days ago. Long before the new murder happened. Which meant the killer had been planning this. Preparing for this. Setting the stage long before the officers even knew a crime was coming. And my child, this is the moment when you must understand something important: evil rarely acts suddenly. It studies. It waits. It watches. It chooses its moment carefully. But no matter how long darkness plans, it can never outrun the justice that follows. While the officers scrambled to track down how the archive breach happened, one officer noticed something odd in the footage. A faint shadow moving in a corridor. A blurred shape slipping past a camera at an angle that avoided direct capture. It was tall, slender, unmistakably human, but the face was never visible. The timestamp showed the figure walking into the archives. But there was no footage of him leaving. The chief stared at the screen, his jaw tight. Where did he go? There's only one exit. But the footage said otherwise. The man went in. He never came out. It was impossible, but it happened. And impossibility is often the language of the wicked. Back at the crime scene, the specialist finally stepped outside to clear her mind. She walked a few steps away from the house, breathing the cool morning air, but something caught her eye. On the opposite sidewalk, under a streetlight that hadn't yet turned off, lay a small folded paper, too neatly placed to be trash, too deliberate to be random. Her pulse quickened. She picked it up with gloves, unfolding it slowly. Inside, written in sharp, almost elegant handwriting, were 4 chilling words: "You found me again." She dropped the paper in shock and stepped back instinctively. Officers rushed to her, asking what happened, but she couldn't speak at first. Her breath trembled as she pointed to the note. The chief read it silently, his expression darkening. The message wasn't meant for the officers. It wasn't meant for the forensic team. It wasn't even meant for the victim. It was meant for the one person who helped take down the killer years ago, the very specialist who had now found the fingerprint. The killer remembered her. He had watched her. He waited for her return to this scene. And he left a message specifically for her. Which meant he wasn't just resurfacing. He was targeting. But my child, even as fear spread among the officers, something else was happening, something invisible, something powerful, something divine. For every step the killer took, an angel took another. For every shadow he walked through, a light followed. For every plan he made, heaven prepared a counter-strategy. The officers felt helpless, but they were not alone. You may think this is just a human story, but it is not. It is spiritual warfare playing out in physical form. And now, my child, let me speak again to your heart, because while this investigation unfolds, something similar is happening in your life, though you may not realize it. You have been feeling pressure, unexplainable pressure that seems to come from nowhere. You sense heaviness even on calm days. You feel watched by problems you didn't invite. You face emotional storms that strike without warning. Things break at the wrong time. People misunderstand you. Opportunities slip away just as they appear close. You think it's coincidence. You think it's bad luck. You think it's your fault. But it's a battle. A spiritual one. A battle meant to drain your confidence, weaken your hope, break your momentum, disconnect you from your purpose. You are not imagining the intensity. You are not exaggerating your struggles. The pressure is real, but so is the protection surrounding you. Just like the officers cannot see the unseen hands guiding them, you too cannot see the heavenly presence around you. But it is there. Always there. I am with you. I am beside you when you doubt yourself. I am holding you when everything feels too heavy. I am whispering strength into your spirit when your body feels tired. You are not walking alone through the chaos. You are being carried through it. My child, you have survived storms that were meant to destroy you. Situations that were designed to break your spirit only made you stronger. Pain that should have silenced you ended up sharpening your voice. Every setback became a stepping stone. Every heartbreak became a lesson. Every disappointment shaped a version of you that refuses to give up. That is why the enemy fears you. Not because of what you have done, but because of what you can become. And that is why I am calling you deeper, deeper into trust, deeper into surrender, deeper into faith. Not the comfortable faith you practice when life is stable, but the kind of faith that rises in the middle of chaos. The kind that stands firm when everything shakes. The kind that grows even in darkness. My child, hear me, you are stronger than you think. You are wiser than you realize. You are braver than you believe. And you are protected more than you know. Just as that killer's return will be the beginning of his downfall, the pressure you feel is the beginning of your breakthrough. The enemy always fights the hardest when he knows something powerful is coming. And something powerful is coming, for you. A breakthrough. A shift. A release. A restoration. A door that has been closed for years suddenly opening. A blessing that has been delayed suddenly arriving. Do not stop now. Do not withdraw. Do not lose hope. This is the moment you push through, because you are closer to victory than you have ever been. You and I, we walk side by side, and nothing formed against you will succeed.